welcome back to another week on the Work Report. I am joined this week by Luke, Rock, and our special guest, who is responsible for so many of my financial mistakes, and Luke as well. Justin, how are we all doing today?
Hello. Did I hear Work Report? Because it sounded like Work Report.
No, I think you're just deaf.
No, I am dead. But yeah, anyway. Sheesh, calm down, Nick. Sing a little joke here. Hello, welcome. Hello.
40K anyway. Is work.
Yeah, 40K is work.
It is.
What do you mean it's life? That's right.
No.
It has become one of us.
Anyway,
what?
Thanks for joining us today, Justin. As I mentioned in the last files, one of the many problems I have and many regrets I have in life is spending a lot of money, but not in Warhammer and now Magic, thanks to you. So hello, welcome. I welcome you, but my wallet does not. So please move along.
You're welcome.
Yes.
What?
As we said, I got 99 problems, and Justin is at least 42 of them.
Ooh.
Responsible for them.
That high?
Responsible for them, because most of them have to do with the unpainted models and unsorted cards in my apartment.
It's okay. Like I said, I'm not going to be happy until I'm at least 100% your problems.
Hey, yeah, we can make that happen.
Ambition is a thing.
It'd be like that.
Anyway, welcome
Justin,
and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
For those of you that don't know who you are, maybe have just seen you around in the chat, introduce yourself to us for our lovely listeners.
Well, one of the original people that helped start essentially the 40K community here that we have currently now. I think when I first came to Korea, it was really just me meeting Sue for the first time and then working with him, starting up the Cacao group, and then just it blowing up from there. When I've been a 40K player for quite a bit of time. I started back in 3rd edition when the Black Templar and Drukhari box, well, back then called Dark Eldar, box came out. So that's when I first got started. I've been playing on and off since then, but I really didn't sink my teeth into 40K like pretty regularly until about 5th edition. And that was about the time when I finished college, got a steady job, and an actual like disposable income, and been playing since then. And then in terms of living in Korea, I've been here since 2015. I work at a biotech company here in the Songdo area. Currently, they're director of small scale manufacturing for clinical and commercial. So yeah, I'm trying to help you guys with the whole COVID thing. So.
We are truly thankful and appreciate what you're doing, especially now that Korea finally caught up with everybody. I think most of the countries are in the 3rd shot, but yeah, I think that is also part of your reason why pumping all the vaccines and working on that.
Maximum effort. Yes.
Well,
yes.
Picking up on, I think we already mentioned this a lot of times in the past in the previous podcast, especially when we talk about like who influenced us what and who brought us in here. Like Justin mentioned, at the beginning, the very early stages of the 40Korea stuff, I remember I met Justin outside, in a Warhammer club where he was playing some games with his Raven card. And I went there just to watch because I wanted to play Warhammer. I had no idea. I only had 5 Reavers. That was on my army. 5 Reavers and 5 Tau that I hated it. Because hate Tau, yes, especially now. And I ended up talking with him, and they said, hey, when I go for a cigarette, smoking is bad. And we ended up going outside, and that cigarette turned into like 20. And those 20 became in like 3 hours. We started talking stuff about the lore, game, and stuff. And then he said, let's play a game. I was like, yeah, I would love to. Just don't have enough models, so let's play Kill Team. And then he just looked at me dead in the eye. He said, don't worry about that. Like, okay. Fast forward a week later, we meet again. We were playing. We couldn't find a place to play, so we ended up renting like a table in a board game cafe.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the man shows up and like, here's your stuff. He just gives me a box of Ghana chocolate, empty. I open the box and I see a Space Marines a full Dark Imperium box set. He said, "Yeah, everything is there except the ancient, so you can keep it." They're like, dude, yeah, I can keep it. This is too much. This is way too expensive. You can't just give away that box like that for free. And he just looked at me and said, "Look, if I don't give it to you, my wife is gonna throw it away. So just take it."
And you want to know something hilarious, piggybacking off that story? Tonight, I mentioned to Justin, hey, I really like dragons. I want to try making a dragon commander because I've just always liked dragons. He looks dead at me, opens up his commander box, pulls out Dragon and hands it to me and says, there's your commander. Which Dragon is like a $50 card. He's like, I got the secret lair drop one, so I'll just use that one instead. I'm like,
bro.
What?
No.
Yeah, he is like that.
Yeah.
And recently, he gifted the entire War Report gang special dice.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the
Yes.
dice.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I
So
picked it
welcome.
up last week when I met Remy, and much appreciated, especially the old Dark dice is very beautiful. Another great gesture for you, Justin.
Yeah, it was just a
Which-
gesture to you guys for like the work that you guys have been doing as part of the community. For like Rock and Rachel and Luke and Nick, like being able to put out the podcast pretty much almost on a pretty consistent weekly basis, and then just keeping the community alive. And it was just kind of a small gesture. And being from like, because I come back from a Filipino background, so it's all about like our kind of mentality is all about giving and not taking. So that's kind of been ingrained into my personality where if you talk a lot to my friends, like they usually say pretty much a lot of the same things that you guys are saying. Like, and for me, it's kind of like karma. Like I don't expect anything in return, but I know down the road that it'll just work out in the end and balance itself out.
Yep, man. As I mentioned before, when this situation, and this is no lie, back in 2020, before I got into 40K, I was job hunting, and Corona. It's exhausting. Something very taxing mentally, and I was seeing a roadblock, and surprisingly, suddenly I got all these Space Marines. I had to start painting. It really helped me to ease let's say the burden you have mentally when it comes to taxing when you're working on stuff, and keep yourself really focused. And my goodness, everything kind of worked out in the end. So I'm not gonna wood. Hopefully, it still keeps going. But here we are now, almost more than 1 year later. It's gonna be more than 2 years now. Years later.
The real mastermind behind the 40Korea socials is Justin, because I've been sitting at his dinner table over a drink or cards or a dinner more than once being like, dude, what am I doing? What have I signed up for?
You're slowly becoming part of the family. What you see?
Dude, I was gonna say, honestly, I feel like I'm there enough that his daughter is starting to think that.
You're becoming the grunkle. Indeed.
You
Grunkle Nick.
the term uncle is becoming more and more real, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. She calls me uncle, and it's just becoming more and more real every time.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
But
Like,
yeah, because I was gonna say, actually, funny enough, even just tonight, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna stop by Justin's and I'm gonna grab the cards for you, Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're gonna see each other. And he's like, hey, can you show me how to use OBS? I'm like, oh yeah, sure. I said hi to the mother-in-law and I went off, and then mother-in-law pokes her head in and in Korean says, do you want to stay for dinner? And I'm like, am I? And I looked at Justin. I'm like, I don't think I'm allowed to say no. Whenever the nice Korean woman says, would you like some of the food I made? You say, yes, ma'am.
You don't ask
Yes, I would love
questions.
some.
that is the Korean way. Well, the elderly, like when they offer you food, you just gotta sit there and just enjoy the food. That's how it
Take it
goes.
like a man.
Oh, and I mean, it was fish soup. It was amazing.
All right.
So, like, I am not at all complaining, but I feel like I eat too much of Justin's food.
No, we it's family style, so there's always more food. Especially me being
Yeah, I'm just-
Filipino, it's all we give food.
Oh my god! Like I
I'm over
remember
there
in
all the time, and
Philippines,
Justin's like,
every
"Are you
Friday would
hungry?"
be like the siblings coming over, and there's a feast most of the time.
Yeah, I showed up. I showed up one time to Justin's. I'm like, oh no, I went out for Bingsu with some buddies before I got here, and I saw that's one of the few times I've seen like genuine concern on both your wife and your face. You're like, what do you mean Nick's not hungry? This is not normal. But no, that was during the time when I was working like 60, 70 hours a week. So like, if I had time, if I was eating, it was so little because I was literally too tired to chew.
I've been in those situations too. I've worked in the early parts of my career. Those were commonplace.
Yeah, I started my second job today, and Justin even said, "You worked hard today. You're not talking." I'm like, I'm saving my energy for the podcast.
It
Yeah.
That's an
was
interesting-
very strange to see a very quiet Nick.
What's quiet, Nick?
That's what everyone says.
God,
So-
what's-
Yeah, I know, right?
So what you're saying is like when Nick is quiet, there are only two possible scenarios. One, he's tired from work. There two, he did something bad and he's not saying anything about it. That's what you're trying to say? Because that's how it sounds.
I'm like a dog. If I'm not talking, I'm either hungry, tired, or I did something.
What did you do?
What did you do, Nick?
No, nothing yet. Nothing yet.
Yeah?
Nothing yet.
I'm
Nothing,
just-
nothing that
I'm
I
just
know.
tired. I'm just tired. That's all. But yeah, it's definitely, and we will be seeing Justin more in the future for sure, because we have some plans in the works that Justin is a very big part of. So he will be showing up in the future for sure on more stuff that we do.
Yeah, stay tuned for
But-
that. That is something that I am slowly working with Nick in the backgrounds to hopefully we can try to make happen within the next few months.
Do I need to whip up another art?
Yep.
Any spoilers? Any heads up?
Yeah, I
For
think
those
I can
who are
talk
not
a
in the
little
loop.
bit about it. I think I can talk a little bit about it. We are working on some more content for YouTube outside of just like these episodes and maybe some Twitch VODs. We're looking at getting some actual YouTube content out.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
we're gathering the gear.
Working out
I'm
the
on a limited
logistics.
budget. The logistics are a thing.
Learning how to do certain things is a thing. Because this is
Yes.
stuff that I'm, like I said, I literally have never used OBS before. So this is a new
Right.
skill set. I like computers, but software hates me. So I'm more of a hardware guy. So
Yeah.
The hardware. I see.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to get it done, but at the current moment we have a lovely landlady that we have to negotiate with whenever we want to get stuff done, as well as two rather rambunctious tenants. Well, one's rambunctious, one's loud.
I think I might have solved that because me and my wife, we were touring like some of the facilities here in my apartment complex. And I think I found a place for us to be able to do some of the stuff that we're thinking about.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a new development, but it's going to be very fun. It's going to be very loud, and I'm going to try to make it something unique to Korea, something, dumb that we can do.
What is
Because you know me, I love my dumb ideas. I'm thinking about doing a stream, maybe one of these days doing a stream, just trying to paint a completely custom printed army. I'm not copying GW's files, don't sue me. I just want to make my own.
Yeah.
I want to use my own stuff. So, because I like their stuff, but like witch elves, they look too old compared to the rest of the army.
Right.
It's the Daughters of Cain I'm working on. Most of those models look really nice, but the elf models, like the Hag Queen, the witch elves, the Sisters of Slaughter, look really old. I don't know why, if they are old kits or if, they just got a bad redo.
Yeah,
But I'm
that's what I
looking
was
to
gonna
try and
actually ask you
update
is
them.
like, are they the original kits from like when fantasy was still a thing, or did they get updated?
I feel like they are, because in the last Daughters of Cain book, which was second edition, their big update was Marathi Kane.
And that was all
Marathi
the
was their
like
update.
half snake girls.
Yeah, those ones came around in first edition.
Okay.
With the Daughters of Cain going from the Dark Elves separating into the Daughters of Cain.
Mm.
Separating from Malekith and all that.
Can you actually use that in 40K, or just strictly like
No.
fantasy? Or
They're a Sigmar army.
okay, strictly Sigmar, because like it's demons. So
yeah.
I was like thinking like, oh,
No, they're not. They're not.
oh, okay.
They're Dark Elves.
They
They're
actually
elves.
hate demons.
Okay.
Yes, they're actually They're actually, even though they're incredibly violent,
All right.
they are part of the Alliance of Order,
Which is weird.
because they hate chaos, because Marathi was imprisoned inside of Slaanesh, got out, and then imprisoned Slaanesh back.
What?
And Nagash could see through her, the big snake lady's her natural form after being corrupted by Slaanesh, which she hates. So she goes back to her form that fantasy players are used to. The elf queen.
Right. Not the
Nagash can see through it.
Whatever.
She looks normal. Nagash can see through it, and he made a comment about it. It needled under her skin till she lost control of the illusion and showed off that she is actually a 40-foot tall snake woman. And she has never forgiven Nagash for it. So she hates death as well, because she's never forgiven Nagash for that public insult.
Who doesn't hate death? Like, it's almost like, I want to live.
Destruction doesn't hate him. Chaos really has nothing to do with him. It's just Marathi herself
Just
hates her.
Okay.
Because she hates Nagash in particular.
All right.
Yeah.
Smart.
There's a whole thing, and we could do a whole episode on the Daughters of Cain. I find them very, very interesting. Marathi's story it's like your Disney villain backstory sometimes, where it's very dark, but it's also at some points it's sad.
You feel a lot of sympathy for her, for like the stuff that she had to go through.
And you're like, well, she made a murder cult. Well, you look at what she had to go through. It was kind of the best option at the time, and then she just has kind of run with it. And now she has the heart of a god. So, but yeah, it's but no, I think Age of Sigmar is starting to come into its own, and the Daughters are getting a new book in spring.
Right.
So that could be anywhere from now until June, really, sometime over the next 3 months.
All right, but
We should get a.
if I'm not mistaken, Age of
book.
Sigmar is going on like the age, at like the era of like the end or something. Like, I don't know, like what.
It's post
the
end
aftermath.
times.
It's the aftermath.
Right.
It's the aftermath of the end times. It's the Age of Sigmar. Shocker. I know.
Yeah,
He
because
said it.
Surprise.
yeah, the previous world essentially imploded, and the new world is what Age of Sigmar is now, with kind of reimaginings and like evolutions of some of the old world characters.
I see.
Right. Like Sigmar went from being just a god, or from being a very powerful man.
Right.
He ascended to godhood, which is why we are in the Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Because Sigmar is like the big god right now, because he's the new one.
Wait, so so Sigmar is like, he became a god or something. Can he like, does he have a like presence in the warp or something?
Yes. But in Age of Sigmar, the warp is not really messed with too much.
It's more
Chaos
just a
is a
place.
much bigger threat.
Wait,
Yeah, the warp
It's
is like
known.
yeah.
But yeah, most of the chaos stuff you'll see in the Northlands, in the wastes, where the Norska are. That's where chaos hangs out, because there's a tear in the warp up there. Think of like a Eye of Terror. It's a tear in the warp up north.
Oh my god.
And that's where all the demons come in. If you play Total War, that's where all the chaos factions start. They all start in the north.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for me, like Age of Sigmar, like I'm not necessarily a big fan of it because I was more of a bigger fan of the old world stuff. But at the same time, I do like the fact that their story is actually moving forward and it evolves. Unlike with 40K, like we're always stuck in that like minute before midnight type of scenario, and it's a lot of rehashing of a lot of stuff. So like Nakamoon, like we're back at Vigilus again. It's essentially the new Cadia, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I agree.
And I hate that because it's just, you're just reskinning an old story. I'm like, I can understand, like, yeah, we can keep it at a minute to midnight, but the universe in 40K is so vast. We can hit a lot of the different type of war zones and expand on different things, like have Necrons versus Tyranids and have a storyline versus that, and like maybe have Death Watch that's in there, like sprinkling in to like mess with both sides. We can even hit back with some of the nostalgia stuff, but it seems like we're always going back to the nostalgia stuff or just reskinning a lot of the current like storyline.
It's like it's
GW reskinning the stuff that's sold. GW reskinning stuff that's sold. They would never do that with Primaris lieutenants.
Wow.
We're long overdue for a Primaris lieutenant, though.
Yeah, I don't know you guys, but I think we need a new one.
I don't want my new one until he comes with the Primaris Lieutenant Army of Renown.
Your one, the Army of Renown.
Where I can run all lieutenants with my warlord being Kato Sicarius.
Oh, I can't do Sicarius.
Nobody likes Kato Sicarius. Ultramarine players don't like Kato Sicarius.
Kato Sicarius likes it, dude.
Everybody hates him.
Yeah.
Even Kato Sicarius hates himself. But even though they've been trying to like fix him in the latest books, I heard that he's been kind of groomed into being not the usual monster that he is. Just for the purposes like he's gonna take over of Kalgar. So they've been kind of hinting that Kalgar is gonna, or die or something. And he's gonna take it. They've been hinting on that, but I don't know. Probably Justin knows better than me.
The Papa Smurf's gonna die? Damn.
It's been hinted.
If it was me personally, to make it a little bit more intriguing, because Kato wants to be the chapter master.
I mean,
yes.
I would personally love to see the interaction that he gets bypassed and somebody else becomes the chapter master over him.
Oh damn! The twist.
That'd be good.
Titus.
What's his name? Captain Zuckerberg. The guy whose model looks like Mark Zuckerberg.
What?
Uriel Ventress. That's Uriel Ventress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't talk anything about Ventress. That's Justin's favorite character, man. You get into the thin ice over there.
No, the thing is, I'm going after his model because they ruined him. He looks like Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh my god.
It's okay. Like, realistically, like, because you have Agamemnon, who's the captain of the first company. You have Kato, technically, who's the captain of the second company, but
if I'm not mistaken.
And then you have Ventress, who's the captain of the fourth company, and then you have like the video game Titus. So I'm actually really excited for Space Marine 2 to kind of see where that story went with Titus, and hopefully, what I'm hoping for is they kind of fold his story into the main 40K canon, because like when they made it before, it was like kind of its own thing, but I'm kind of hoping that they work with GW to be actually saying like, no, he is part of the storyline now. And if they do that, I really want either Titus or Ventress to like bypass Sicarius to become the chapter master.
That would be great.
That'd be awesome.
That would add so much like intrigue, because Kato wants it. And then if he ever gets bypassed because of it, that could like lead into like some either loyalist and like maybe some chaoticness with Sicarius, because again, he's very prideful, and that's something that I would, because Space Marines are prideful, but like especially with the Ultramarines, because they see themselves as very honorable. But Kato was to the point where he was like, he had a super high ego.
He's the most ultra of all the Ultramarines.
Yeah, and that could be something that like could be played into in terms of like a very like intrigue and backstabbing, and maybe even like a heel turn into like going like, why did I get bypassed? And like Chaos Gods can like seep into that, kind of like with what happened with Johnson and Lothar.
Wait, Lionel Johnson's chaos? Like what? I thought he just disappeared or something. Like
No, different character.
oh, okay.
Different character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of our favorite boys in blue, though, Justin, I know you have a lovely Horus Heresy army with the superior Gilliman model.
Yes, I do.
Chad Gilliman?
He's one of my
s-
30K armies. I actually have two 30K armies, which is my 30K Ultramarines, which is the one that I started first. Was super excited when it came out because Ultramarines was the very first army that I played in 40K. And then the Horus Heresy was
that
always
was
something
all of us.
that intrigued me.
Yeah. I think all of us started on Ultramarines, or at least I started on Ultramarines.
So since we are
And,
at sorry. Go on. No bad.
I was saying, Luke, you started on Ultramarines. I started on Ultramarines, and I guess now, we know Justin started on Ultras.
Yeah, the only person here that didn't start on Ultras was Rock.
Yes. Yes.
Shame.
What the heck is that supposed to mean?
It means exactly what it says it means.
Jesus.
He started with the army that he wanted.
Yeah.
We started with the armies
Actually-
that we were just introduced to.
Funny enough, in college, whenever I got in, really got into 40K, when I was about 18. Funny enough, I was doing, I was playing Ultramarines against Necrons.
Oh.
Funny enough. And that's how I fell into the Necrons back in 7th.
What?
Because
And
back
that's
then, you remember
my-
the insta-kill rule, Justin?
Yeah, if you were
If
if the strength was double your toughness, you insta died. Didn't matter how many wounds you had.
That's funky.
Yeah.
What?
There's only one army that could completely shirk and survive insta-death.
Necron.
And it annoyed my friend, my buddy I played with so much that I wanted to play Necrons because I love the revive mechanic and the fact that he got so mad that Gauss weapons at the time got like bonuses against vehicles. So between that and the Scarabs, you could just murder a vehicle army. And the Wraiths, oh, the old Wraiths where like if you rolled a 6 on like a strength on like a test, the Wraith just booped you out of existence.
Oh, that was the old school gun.
That sounds hell
They had-
broken.
Yeah, the
what the
old
heck?
school transdimensional beamer.
Yeah.
So I rolled it up to a Castellan, and just he rolled a 1 on the test. He rolled a 1, and back then on strength tests, no matter what your strength was, a 1 was an auto
What?
fail.
Yeah.
So he rolls a 1, and the knight just goes boop. Just one little wraithy boy with a gun just dropped a knight instantly.
Yeah. My favorite old school Necron rule was Scarabs, because Scarabs have always been near and dear to my heart in terms of the Necron like models. And before, swarms were never kind of they were kind of just what they were called, but they never had proper rules for them. So before, they were actually using the jet bike rules.
Yes, I remember.
So
What is the Jedi rules? I don't know.
yeah, because so like right now, like Scarabs can move like 10 inches and you can advance like 6 inches. But before, with like jet bikes had a special rule that if you like advanced, you just doubled your movement. And before, Scarabs could move 12 inches.
What?
Oh.
Yeah.
So you had Scarab
24-inch
bases,
Scarab.
24-inch Scarabs that are just shooting across the board.
So funny.
That sounds like a whole lot of fun.
You mean fun? That
It
sounds
was
like
bad.
anti-fun. What is this like?
Yeah, they were bad. They didn't have like reanimation protocol. They were just there to be like,
A nuisance.
they literally were there just to tie up units. Like my favorite thing to do was when I played against Tau players and be like, oh, those are where your broadsides are. my scarabs are going to go over there and charge you, and then just tie them up for the entire game.
Goodness.
It was so funny. Scarabs are one of the reasons I fell in love with Necrons outside of Scarabs was Trollzine the Infinite. Oh my lord, Trollzine the Infinite.
The Indiana Jones of the 40K universe.
That belongs in my museum.
My museum.
That belongs in the museum.
Listen to how this used to work. So I would use Emphatic Obliterator, which was his weapon. Anything within like 3 or 4 inches that shared the name with the model you just hit also took the wounds. So imagine me walking up to a squad of like 20 orc boys.
Okay.
I hit one of them. All the orc boys take the wound.
Okay.
It was
balance.
It was crazy.
Trollzine could one shot like a squad of 20 orc boys.
That sounds so balanced.
But the
And
thing
you don't
was,
want
is
to know
like,
what happened.
like you think it's unbalanced, but he wasn't the most competitive choice.
What?
It was Emotech.
Oh,
Emotech was one of the competitive choices, and then you also had Old Man Xandric.
I'm sorry. What edition codex is
Yeah.
this? This sounds like insane.
7th.
5th and 7th edition stuff.
Jesus, like it
Yeah.
sounds like hell.
This all changed in 8th.
Oh yeah, it's all changed. Like none of this stuff exists
and
anymore.
then my personal favorite, Trollzine, every time he died. So you would roll Trollzine with like 20 Lich Guard.
Right.
Because every time Trollzine died, you could replace a Lich Guard model with Trollzine.
With how many
And he would
wounds
just
were
come back
left, and I
that
think
model
Lich Guard had like a wound, so you'd essentially have a bunch
They
of
had 2.
yeah.
My
Yeah, you
goodness.
could just like constantly respawn Trollzine every time he died.
He's like the true gamer. It's like there's no death for him. It's only
Oh, it
respawns or only extra lives.
It was.
He was the Dark Souls of
It was
Necrons.
so-
It's literally like
funny.
how many one-ups do you have in your pocket? 20 Lich Guards. That means 20.
Yes.
How many wounds do you have? Yes.
But the Emotech, if you rolled you would roll for every unit before the game started, and on a 6, that unit was destroyed. So I would just like bop dreadnoughts and hellbrutes with Emotech.
Balanced.
It was
Working
but the
as
thing is,
intended.
everything was so crazy unbalanced that it worked.
Bad enough that Hellbrutes are terrible in my codex, in my personal opinion.
No, helmets they
Oh,
suck.
man.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
So-
were
right.
they ever good? Like, were they ever good actually?
No.
7th.
7th, like dreadnoughts and like monsters, like dreadnoughts were strong, but the thing in 7th was monsters were like the ultimate like
Oh,
tanky unit.
right.
Because before all damage was just 1 damage. A las cannon only did 1 wound. Like bolters only did 1 wound. So, but you had like with tanks and vehicles like dreadnoughts, they had like their own damage chart. So you
Oh.
theoretically could one shot a vehicle. But when it came to monsters, you could never one shot them. So you had to have enough anti-tank shots just to take down a
I
monster.
see.
That's where demons got a lot of their popularity in 6th and 7th.
Uh-huh.
6th edition demons is largely regarded as one of the worst codex ever created.
Because how unfun it was?
How oppressive it was?
Yes, it's regarded as the most broken and unbalanced book that GW has ever put out.
Oh.
Fun fact, Luke, guess who wrote it?
The guy who wrote Space Marines, Ultramarines.
Yes, him.
Hey!
Yeah, everybody knows.
He wrote it for 6th edition or 7th edition, 6th and 7th for fantasy as well. And that book is also considered one of the most unbalanced books to ever be created.
Look at me.
They had an ability called Lash of the Master, where you can move an opponent's model 6 inches.
What?
Okay.
I remember that rule. That was so asinine.
Yeah. So yeah, the demons, you would just field a bunch of monsters so they can't kill them. And Bellicor and the monsters are just moving your models around the table.
Wow. Amazing.
Like I said, Balanced.
Yeah.
That's where you get to Bellicor's the Dark Master. Is he would move models around the table.
Yeah. But I think the boogeyman list was kind of similar to like what orc buggies were before, like last year. But like in 7th edition, it was the Imperial Guard parking lot.
What?
Oh my god, that was 8th.
What is
too.
that? What is that?
So
For the non-educated?
non-educated. So essentially the Imperial Guard parking lot was you took wyverns, which is your like artillery tanks, and you essentially have a bunch of chimeras parked in front of it to screen for it. And because it was indirect fire, you can never charge it because you have to charge through the chimeras, and there was no piling in. So once you charge and if you destroyed it, you just sat there and get shot to bits. What made it even worse was you would take the Imperial landing pad and you would stick all your tanks on top of it. And it had a rule that if you had the shields down or shields up, but it always had the shields up. So all of the tanks had a 4-up invul save.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
That's an actual time when the Imperial like IG had like invul saves.
Yeah, you would take this piece of terrain and you pay for it. And then you put all your tanks on top of it with shields up, and they would have a 4-up invul save. You couldn't charge them because you had to charge through the chimeras. And then all of the artillery would just keep shooting you.
Jesus.
So, and you couldn't hide because it didn't need line of sight. So
like, freaking wyverns with the
Yep.
big ass missiles.
The best one was the old Earthshaker cannons.
oh yeah, Earthshakers, Death Strike
So literally
missiles.
Earthshakers were the best thing because Luke, do you know what the range on an old Earthshaker was?
120.
Yeah, it's like big.
Worse.
Wait, what?
It was worse.
Worse?
420.
Worse.
500.
69, 69, 69.
Worse.
What, is it infinite?
Jesus.
Is it infinite?
Yes.
Oh my god.
And it actually had a rule for shooting other players' tables.
Jesus.
What?
It had a rule
What?
to shoot other players'
Oh my
games.
god. I know
What?
that Earthshaker cannon was a big ass cannon with like big like
Wait a second.
It was
What?
so funny.
Explain. Explain.
Oh my God.
Justin, corroborate this, please. ASAP. I demand an explanation.
It did exist, like because it was during the time when Apocalypse was like a thing. Like the
big
current
game
iteration
mode,
of
yeah.
Apocalypse is kind of very different from what it was before. The old school Apocalypse was just generally just a larger 40K game, but it had like fluffy, in quotation mark, rules that would like you wouldn't run in a normal like 40K competitive thing, because having an infinite range meant really nothing when you're only playing on a like 6x4 foot table.
Right.
And if you're playing competitively, you're only playing against the player across from you. But it did have rules where you could be like, yeah, I'm going to go shoot at like another table that's playing a narrative game. Like if it was part of the same narrative. And yeah, there was like funky rules like that a long time. Like
Imagine you're playing your crusade and like, guys, this is the final thing. I'm gonna just chill, and then, excuse me, I'm gonna show my Earthshaker cannon to that single model over there. Hold that objective because screw them man in particular.
You just get a text. Hey, I shot your guys off the objective from Incheon.
like one of my favorite like interactions when like Apocalypse was a thing was they had a vortex grenade that was like a relic you could buy, like a random
Vortex
like
grenade.
character. Like any character could have it, like Necrons, Chaos, like Tyranids technically could take it too. But my favorite thing was the veil was still kind of a thing, but it was more of a rule on a character as opposed to a relic as it is right now. So I would have a character with the veil, like deep striking ability, and he'd take a vortex grenade. And one of my like I think it was like my second or third game, like I did that, and I deep struck, and there was like no 9-inch. You could be like 1 inch away from like your
You had scatter
enemy.
die.
Yeah. So I deep struck next to a Warhound Titan, which had like an entire company of Space Marines underneath it. I tossed the Vortex Grenade at the Warhound. It went apocalyptic explosion. And what that means, like, back in that day is like if it did that, like anything
dies.
within a certain amount of inches just died. No save, no nothing.
Oh, okay.
And on Warhounds, it was like 24 inches.
Right.
Yeah, it could go up to 24 to 36 inches. So it killed pretty much all of the Space Marine company. It killed my character and it killed the Warhound. But Necron still had the reviving roll, so I had to just roll a dice, and my Warlord came back up.
Okay. I get it. But let me get this straight. So your Warlord or your character literally just like zooped into like a freaking like Titan and with like a bunch of Marines there. And he just like yeeted a freaking grenade and just everything died. And
everything died.
What the heck?
Statistically, it shouldn't have happened because you had to roll like a certain like number of like dice rolls, but it did happen. And then my Warlord got back up, and then it was just like, my work's done.
It was also then there was the days of Necrons where you could run monoliths because they were heavy support slots.
Oh, really?
Don't remind me. My monoliths, my babies.
And they would fly, but you had they could also revive entire companies of Necrons and let people deep strike without scattering. They would you could roll up this massive tank, and then just a whole bunch of warriors would walk out of it. Jesus. It was so funny.
That is actually Teslas. A rule that I kind of wish they brought back, especially with the new 9th edition stuff for Necrons. Like, yeah, because like what Nick was saying is like if a certain amount of warriors died, like you could get some back, but if you teleported through a monolith, you would actually get another roll for all of your dead models. So it gave the monolith back then a lot more utility. That's why you would see a lot of it, because its guns were still kind of okay, like they are right now.
I mean, but
it also didn't take hull damage though.
Scary. So.
Yeah, but
it
gave it a little bit more utility than just like a transport vehicle. Like having it act like another resurrection orb, because you are paying a premium, because they were expensive back then and they're still expensive now. It's just you don't get as much utility out of monoliths. That's why you don't really see them in competitive scene. But before they were an actual legitimate like competitive choice just because of the utility that they did bring.
Yeah, I love monoliths.
The monoliths are amazing. The redesigned ones are amazing. The rules and the points and the slot selection is terrible.
Yeah. The fact that you have to spend 6 CP to take 3 of them.
Yeah.
I still want to go back to the days. I want heavy support monoliths because I want them to get dynastic codes and I want to give them OBSEC. Because I did the math. You know how big an objective is? 150 millimeters.
Ooh.
You know how big a monolith base is?
How big?
160 millimeters. I am the objective. You can actually park a monolith on an objective and no one else can touch it until they move the monolith.
Oh my God.
It's
the dumbest thing.
It was like a very old school tactic because that was the original Silver Tide. You take just a bunch of warriors, your 2 required characters, and then you just take 3 monoliths. That was your thing. You played because it was an attrition game. You didn't do as much damage, but you did enough damage to kind of whittle the opposing armies down. And you had the revivability, the kind of the toughness to kind of deal with it, and you had the monoliths to kind of bring guys back.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like how it was a very attrition based strategy.
All right.
It was a very tanky turtle type of strategy, but it was a legitimate strategy because everything else out of the book wasn't really that great at that time. It was really just warriors were good, monoliths were good, and you had to take your lords, and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you could be me and take all Lich Guard just so you could run Trajan around the board and just tick people off.
Piss them off.
But speaking of attrition playstyle, the league is going on right now, and I'm playing Justin's famous attrition Necrons. Borrowing a lot of models from Justin. Looking at your race right now, Justin, they're safe.
Don't break them.
What, you let him
I
borrow
actually,
the
funny
rings?
enough, these are
What?
the
What have you
ones
done?
I built. These are the ones I built, and I forgot
Well-
that I put one of them together with plastic glue, not super glue, and he fell apart when I took him out. I'm like, oh.
It's
Well,
okay.
I have some
But
interesting
no, he
news.
fell apart at the
on that.
joint, so I just put him right back.
I mean, we have the league going on. I'm gonna go back to the league. I just want to mention something very interesting. So this Sunday, I think the time that this video is coming up is happening right now. If you're listening live, they have a tournament this Sunday.
This Sunday.
They have
We do.
the Korean Masters tournament, which is the results of the league.
Yes.
As just mentioning, this is the league we're running right now is the league number 3. This is the third season of the league. 2 seasons already concluded, and as a way to like commemorate, like to kind of celebrate the players, Justin, Remy, and Sue, they kind of like made this Masters of Korea Invitational tournament. Instead of doing the finals like we did last time, it's gonna be, the pick up the 8 best scoring players in the last season, and bring them all
Plus
into
Rock.
an all out. And so this is happening this Sunday. So
Yeah, this was a brainchild from Remy. So this was something that he
Yeah.
kind of worked with Sue initially. Like this was a little bit outside of what I was doing, because this was like Remy's initial selection was just actually based on the ITC scoring points for all of our events, not just the league.
All right.
oh, that's actually interesting.
Yeah. So a lot of the people that got invited were based on like with you, Luke, you were 4th.
Yay.
So obviously
Don't
you
remind
qualified
me.
for it.
Wait, what?
Don't remind me he was 4th.
he
Still
just
salty.
he just not happy that keep keeping the 4th place.
Yeah.
I don't
So-
even want first. I just don't want to be behind Luke.
Wait.
Anyway,
Nick,
sorry,
you're
go on,
eighth?
Nick. Sorry, Justin, continue.
Yeah. So this was something that Remy kind of came up with, and it's something that like I think is kind of going to be like hopefully like our yearly kind of end of the year grand event and stuff like that too, to kind of close out the season. Unfortunately, I know that a lot of the people that were initially on the list, because of obviously life reasons, and with the current pandemic that's going on and stuff like that too, it made it really difficult to kind of schedule with a lot of different people. But out of everybody that's going to the event, they're all still good players. And Luke, I know you're playing. I know Nick is playing. I think Rock is playing too.
Yeah, but unlike every other play in that event, I need to everybody inform that I am playing 3 armies at the same time.
Whatever.
And I'm gonna be playing
Whatever.
on my first game. I'm gonna be playing at 2 tables, and then the rest of the day I'm gonna be playing at 3 tables at the same time. Now, you might be
I am
wondering,
just
how am I able
playing-
to achieve this feat of inhuman power and such a feat without being omnipresent? And the answer is simple here. I'm going to be playing Mega Studies, and at the same time, Nick here, who is going to prove a point, he's borrowing my Death Guard army with my final version of optimized engine list. I don't know if it's optimized, but it's just something I wanted to try to see if this is better. And also Rock is playing. So you already know, Rock, I'm proud of you. I always consider you as my proxy for testing the stuff, so kudos on that. But not only Nick is borrowing my entire army, Rock is borrowing models from me. So I have my armies on the table playing 3 times at the same time. So yeah, that is a thing, folks.
Well,
Wait, hold on.
fun
Let me
thing
just
in
add
the-
in like one small detail or something like that. Like, yes, so prevent me from borrowing some of the models or something like that to test something out, or I guess for this event, I am actually designing my 3D models of the Blight Howlers, but I am making my own conversions. So basically, I just made everything, and also like, it's very unfortunate that I was expecting like non-Tau players to be there, and like after like rescheduling of the event, there are like 2 more Tau player. They just appear out of nowhere. So I'm kind of I'm kind of screwed here with my list.
That's a failure of your list making. You should always plan on every faction being there.
But
Don't worry, I'm feeling the dread of the Tau there as well. So
yes.
feel you.
Well, Rock, you put an illegal model into your list, so I don't think there's a ton of thought going in here.
Hey, I didn't know legends were illegal. Okay.
It literally says Legends, and if you look at it, it says this model is not legal for standard play.
I was like, oh, there's a unit that makes it real hits on my demon edges. Oh, why don't I just run this or something?
Rock's like, oh, this is so good. Why is no one playing it? And when we saw it, we're like, oh, Rock, do you think if that thing was legal, we would have been playing it?
No. The big moment of happening was I was just talking to Rock and said, Rock was like, look,
anyways,
have you seen this model? Doesn't do something crazy. Rock, that's illegal. But you
anyways,
think
back
you would
to
have
the
anyway, go on.
back to the league. I want to talk about the league, because we can talk about the tournament next week.
Right.
But I want to talk about the league. And Justin, what came about with this? How'd this come about?
So, we're back in my original play group. We had like weekly leagues that we did, and then we had two different versions. So we had the local game store one that we would run. That was like a 6-week like matchups with anybody that showed up, and that was on the initial list. And then we had something called the Masters League. Masters League, and it's still going on right now. So. It's essentially a pod system type of league. So it works a little bit better with people if they're in the same city. We've kind of had to modify it for Korea, but essentially it's a promotion and demotion type of league. So everybody gets drafted into pods. And then based on if you're a new player coming in, you'd start at like the lowest pod and eventually just have to work your way up into like the higher tier pods. And then based on your performance from the previous leagues, if you've been in for quite a bit of time, it would promote you or demote you depending on how well you did during that league. To put in perspective, I think they have almost like 60 plus players currently ongoing in that Masters League.
60?
Yeah, 60.
60. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So they have a bunch of pods, whereas like with us, we have 6 pods currently
5
ongoing right now. We have a sub pod in pod 1. So that's 2 pods. And then we have our tabletop simulator pod. And then we have our like regional pods. Obviously, I can't do the promotion and demotion system because with the Masters League that we were running in San Diego, all of the players were in the San Diego City area, whereas with this pod, we're in the Korean country area. So it makes it a little difficult for people to try to make games. So it's a little bit more regional, kind of similar to like your sports teams like NFL and like basketball in the United States. Like you have certain teams located to certain regions, and then they would play those teams and play people outside of their divisions as well. With us, it's just people playing within the divisions, and that's kind of how it goes. What kind of started it for me is like I wanted to kind of do something for the community that one would keep 40K ongoing even if I was to leave, but at the same time kind of like make something to look forward to. Because like before it was like we just have like our one-day events and we'd have to wait for those, or we'd schedule pickup games. But I wanted something that was a little bit more consistent in terms of, like I have a league game this week, or I can schedule a league game next week. So something to look forward to in between events, and something that like would also help us interact with newer players or existing players in a more casual setting. Because the events, it's very, okay, this is your first game, then you got to go to your second game, and then you got to go to your third game. There's not a lot of time for like meet and greets and then like getting to know the players and stuff like that too.
Right.
League system kind of rectifies that, where you can play a competitive game or you can play a casual game depending on who you're playing with. But at the same time, you're going at your guys' own pace. So you can you can talk, you can converse, and like interact with each other in a more casual setting.
Oh, it's interesting. The league ranking thing, it's quite an interesting thing, and I see the issue. Thank God they had the TTS, because last season I had a game with someone who was a couple of 4 hours away from here. I definitely could have not been able to go and play with him. Same for him. So we ended up doing our game on TTS. Of course, things could be different, but it was much convenient because at least I didn't have to worry about models, and so on. They would just get in there and do it, quite simplified.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I wanted to make this league very casual is because especially with the GW system, like there's the 10 points for painting, because we have tabletop simulator and everybody has life and things like that too, and we're all in different areas. Everybody's not at the same pace, so I wanted to keep it very casual. In the Masters League, in like where I'm from, like painting was part of it, so you needed painted models. You couldn't just go with unpainted models.
Interesting.
Yeah,
plus it makes sense, especially it's a bit more lenient.
It allows people, who are just getting into the game, or like me, I'm playing my new army and I'm still working out lists, so I'm constantly introducing new models to my armies. I don't have times to, between working, couple jobs and doing 40Korea, I don't have time to constantly be building and constantly be painting, but I can build the models up to be played. So it's really, really helpful for me.
Convenient, yes.
All right.
Yeah. And that's one of the key things too about the league too, is like with the way that it's structured, you're locked to your army in terms of like your factions. So like if I chose, like I'm playing in the league right now and I'm locked to my sisters, but I'm not locked to like say Bloody Rose or like whatever the factions are. Like Space Marines are kind of like the oddball out because there's so many different supplements for like the specific Space Marine chapters.
Yeah, you're locked
that they're
to
kind
one
of
book.
like each chapter is its own army essentially. Whereas like Sisters and Orcs and like Death Guard, it's like one book of like contained rules.
Company.
But you're never locked to lists. So you can always experiment. You can try random stuff. Like with my sisters, I'm more of a Bloody Rose player, but maybe one week I'm like, hey, I want to try something else. So I'll play maybe like Valor's Heart or Argent Shroud and see how that goes. Just to try something new and like kind of help with the because everybody here, we all like to build lists, right? So part of it is testing those lists out, but sometimes we're like, it's difficult to kind of schedule games and like pick up games. But in like, at least with this setting, it's like, oh, this is like a setting where I can try to do something and see how it works.
It works in more than one way.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
super helpful because like Luke and I love testing lists, and then Rock just gets to profit from the fruits of our labor.
Excuse
so
me?
it's actually kind of a win for everyone.
Wait, hold on.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Bashing aside, but no. Okay, sorry. Bashing aside, the fun thing about the league and then you said the flexibility of making lists is that it's a good and a bad thing because list tailoring it's a thing. And some armies are going to get very hindered by that. But at the same time, it is hilarious, especially when someone expects you to bring something. And that happened to me with the engine stuff. I've been playing engines. Everything's engines, epidemias. I'm playing Outback. My opponent, I love you, Tony. He brought everything to tear down all my engines in one go. And then hey, Tony, I hope you're ready for my engines. I am. Good, because I brought none. And then I just dropped 80 Boxwalker on the field. And then he just looked at me like, I hate you.
And that's, despite me doing so well in our events, I don't do well in the league because normally demons are really good into all comers list, but they suck if you can tailor against them. And that's what happens to me. So I'm playing Necrons now because I want something that I can now tailor and can be played in multiple different ways. It allows me to explore my army further because I am playing melee variants. I'm playing aggressive. I'm playing passive. I get to play around a lot more.
It also helps that you have access to my army.
That is true. I don't have to go buy, 20 flayed ones and 15 rays. I have, my fair share of models. I have personally, I think I have about 5,000 points in Necrons, but there's certain like key things missing, like raids, or I'm missing mostly raids, and flayed ones are what I'm missing right now.
Yeah, you have a very good collection of Necrons, but like the fact that and that's kind of the thing too, is like it's very casual. So if you really want to try stuff like you guys are doing with Rock and with Luke, like, oh, you're using Luke's models and stuff like that too, or Luke can use your models. That's something being like, I've never, and it helps because 40K is a very expensive game. We all know this, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that like with the league, you'd be like, I've always wanted to try this model. Who do I know that has this? Oh, wait, Luke has it. Hey, Luke, can I borrow this for a game? Because I really want to try it, because I have this like list thing that I want to try out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more than like fair, because it's like, one, it gives you experimentation with lists, but it also gives like players the opportunity to try certain things if they have access to it. Maybe not within their own army, but like if Christoph is playing Necrons and be like, hey, I don't have a Void Dragon, but I've always wanted to try. I'm like, yeah, sure. If you want to borrow it, that's fine. And then kind of test it out and see how it goes. Because like, again, it's the casual setting. If I wanted a competitive like league, I would have put rules in to say that you can only use models in your collection. Right?
Or all your army, like your whole detachment must match.
Yeah, match. And then
Like
at
actual,
that point, you'd
like,
be putting in the
detachment
painting
rules.
restrictions and then like things like that too, just to make it like super competitive. But the people that want to play competitive will play competitive. The people that want to play casual will play casual. But part of what I want with the league is the open conversation that you're going to have with your opponent, because you schedule your games. So that's already initial conversation. So as you're talking to your opponent, you'd be like, hey, I'm really just a casual player. So can you, like, I know you're probably going to win, but can you like not raffle stomp me? Like, and that's part of the conversation that you'd be having. Yeah, obviously we're all playing to win, but at the same time, I'm like as an example, in our pod, like I have to play Sean. Sean is a brand new Necron player, and he's
He literally
just
owns
getting in
4 squads of warriors.
Yeah, he's never played in an event. He's just jumping into like, I feel really bad because he has to play me, Nick, and Sue. So,
Oh my god.
Yeah. 3 of the top 5 players. Yeah.
yeah.
Jesus
So,
Christ.
but because I know that he's a brand new player, I'm not going to take my competitive list against him. This might be the game where I'm just going to be like, you know what? I want to try something new. Like, I'm going to try something like off the ball and see how it goes. And like, just have a fun game with him. Because like, especially with me, like I do play competitively, but I use the league as a way to be like, play fun casual games. Because my competitive comes out when we're doing the team, or like when we're doing the events for our normal stuff.
Yeah. This is also good for me, having Sean around, because it's teaching me how to chill.
Yeah, like
The joke with me is, and he shall know no chill, because you even told me I play, for people that don't know, I play the ringer. For being assistant commissioner, that's part of my job, is if a game has to be finished and there is nobody available to finish it, I roll out to that location and I'll play the game. And they always tell me whenever I'm leaving, Nick, don't loot, don't roll over, but don't stomp them. Like, chill out. Don't stomp them. I'm like, okay. And so I can like rock up and try to contain, but I have to build. It's helped me figure out how to build lists that are just entertaining rather than, optimizing every ounce of my army.
Yeah, it's entertaining to face three Keepers of Secrets.
right.
Always.
Always.
I have fun with that.
Yeah.
You still haven't gotten the worst of my demon list. I should
God.
play you.
No.
I think
I
it
think I
tastes
faced
all
the
of it.
worst by the fact that I haven't, like, I couldn't leave my deployment zone because, like, I couldn't score any primary. I scored 0 in the primary in that tournament, okay?
That was the tame version. That was the tame list.
Thank God.
But that was a tame one, Rock.
Well, back in the
yeah,
whole thing,
back to the league.
I'm happy that you said the things out. Mostly because I've been playing a lot of stuff, and now as you mentioned, it's a breather thing. I'm not playing my Deathguard. I love Deathguard, but I'm not playing my Deathguard. I'm playing Custodes. So I need to get used to this thing. So one way or another, it's like force myself to play a different game. Feels like a refreshing. I don't have to worry about being super extra competitive.
The league,
unless I'm facing certain
nice
people.
for that.
The league is a nice, like, fresh air for the whole thing.
My God.
And
Yeah.
and I want to see what's next in the whole thing. Mostly events, especially after the corona gets restrictions are done, because I know there are big plans being cooked out for major events. And the most important thing about the league, especially the latest 2 iterations of the league, that I really like what you did with this, Justin, is that we managed to reach out the Korean players. So slowly we are simulating the Korean player base into this, even though we have the language barrier. It's, of course, it's still there. It's a bit odd, but kind of play the same. So it's nice to have the variety going up. Because last league, I played 3 people that I never played before. 2 of them were Korean. Like, oh, that's nice. And one of the guys who not only was great with English, but he never knew about TTS. I introduced him to TTS. We played our TTS game, and he was delighted. So now he discovered, oh, I can do this now. I can play more games, and now he just hooked up playing more stuff on TTS as well. So it opens up to not only new people, but also new tools to someone who's not aware of it.
And that's great.
So, like,
yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. All right, are you gonna?
Sorry,
wait, is it my turn?
Go ahead.
Do I get the speaking ball now?
Go ahead, Rock.
I will permit it.
Okay. Okay, so as Justin says, like when it comes to like league or something like that, also like testing out new stuff, and yeah, sure, like in players' perspective, like we do want to win or something like that, but at some time, you know, you just want to like try something out new also, or like literally just go meme. Yes, go meme also. So in my first 2 league game, I did play against Custodes. I first faced against Luke. And the second game was with Martin. I did try out my 2 meme lists or something like that. The first meme list, I think I could have had a shot, but like, damn, Luke's list building or whatever you want to call it is like pretty good.
it wasn't the list. It was the tactical. But go on.
Yes, it's very It's actually I did enjoy like both games. Like I actually managed to win with the meme list. So out of like the 5 games I played against Custodes, I lost all the games with Deathguard. But I managed to pull a win with a meme list. So I was like, wait, what?
That's it.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
I was like, what the heck is this?
But yeah, I'm definitely glad that we all got to give we all enjoy the league, Justin. We all love it. Fun. It's great for all of us. Great for the community. And once again, thank you so much for setting it up. But I think that's all my thoughts on this for tonight. What about you, gentlemen?
I am good, sir. I'm just glad that Justin joined us today. We could talk a little things. Also, in the meantime, while we were like chatting, I was kid bashing, so that was relaxing.
Right.
So, yes.
In my case, I'm just recouping my reformat computer. Kind of sad day, but I had a great time with Justin, hearing like with his like 40K life and his life also, and especially with his dice, with the dice that he has blessed me with, the Nurgle die or something like that. I actually did pull some like a lot of 6s with those dice, so thank you.
You're welcome.
It is blessed.
Yeah. Once again, thanks again for coming on, Justin. Yes. May the Emperor watch over all of us, or the four great Chaos Gods, whoever you choose to follow. And
good night, then.
And have a wonderful night.
Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.